So a real-world example of when we would use links and when links are used is if you go into the etc pam.d directory here, right? And you do an ls, you'll see like password-auth and system-auth in blue here, and those are soft links. Those are sim links, symbolic links. So password-auth, if I do an ls-l to password-auth, it's a soft link over to the source file of password-auth AC. So any changes I make in password-auth are going to show up in password-auth AC and vice versa, right? And that's all fine and dandy until one day something, for whatever reason, one of the changes I made isn't working anymore. My system's broken, I can't log in, maybe I can't authenticate as a user using SSSD, right, to my IDM server. What happened? What's the issue here, right? Well, the issue is if I go into password-auth here, right? So here at the top it says user changes will be destroyed the next time authconfig runs. Well, if it says that in the link, right, then it says that in the source file. So if I go into the source file, password-auth AC here, right, user changes will be destroyed the next time authconfig is run. And that's a problem because that means if I make a change here to get the system to do something I want, and then for whatever reason the system decides it wants to run authconfig, maybe on a reboot, maybe something happened that I wasn't aware of, those changes I made will be overwritten. They will be gone because I didn't make them in authconfig, which isn't something I like to play with because usually I can't get into my system once I do. So a way around this, right, to keep your password-auth and system-auth persistent, right, is you would want to first off make a copy of password-auth AC, right? So I'm going to make a copy of it. I'm going to call it password-auth AC new. Okay. So there's my copy right underneath password-auth AC. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to unlink password-auth, right? So it's gone. It's not here anymore. I've unlinked it. I'm going to go ahead and create a new symbolic link, a new soft link, right? And I'm going to call it, I'm going to use the new password-auth. Oh, I'm going to use, yep, there we go, password-auth file that we just copied over, right? As the source, and then the link will be password-auth. And then if I do an ls, right, we see password-auth is back as a link. And if I do an ls-l for password-auth, right, it's now linked to password-auth AC new. So when authconfig next runs, it's going to modify this file, password-auth AC, because that's what it's configured to do. But it won't modify this one. So any files, any configurations, any services I have running that are relying on the password-auth symlink or are now going to get whatever configurations are in this file, and it's going to be persistent. No matter what happens to my system, it could run for 1,000,000 years. Authconfig can run 100 times, and password-auth is still going to remain persistent with the configuration changes that I made. And that's just one, what I think is a very good example of how we use links and how you can get creative with links. And it's also a good way to make, pam.d settings persistent when you don't want to mess with authconfig.